Okay, great. Hi, first of all, before I get started, I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity. I'm really grateful that you're all here and I get to share with people who have great experience and have been doing this work for a long time. So thank you. I'm a psychotherapist. For nearly 20 years, I worked with survivors of abuse and trauma. And in order to help my clients and be the best I could be for them, I learned from neuropsychiatrists whose work brought impactful reliefs from trauma symptoms. And what over the last 2, 3 years, I know all of us have felt the pressures of societal demands and global pressures that have made life really unpredictable for everyone and has caused most of us to be pushed to our limit, bringing out our most defensive and primitive nature to respond, or I should say react to things at work or even in our home lives. During lockdown, I realized that my previous work treating trauma could be crucial in promoting well-being at work. And I'll get a little bit into that in a second. So professionals are looking for work environments where they can bring their whole selves to work in order to do their best work. And I know that leadership is looking for results and productivity, and this is the key. And part of this key also includes having the ability to have crucial conversations at work about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging values and practices. But how do people go about setting that up at work when conversations get derailed? So in order to address these vital issues, I developed a three-pronged approach. The first prong is neuroscience. No matter what our belief systems are, or our cultural upbringings are, or our gender, or how we identify, or where we come from, we do have many things in common. Two of the most compelling things that we have in common is that we're, as human beings, our brains and bodies are essentially wired the same basic ways. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important and crucial in this fact. We all respond to threat and danger pretty much the same way. That means neural pathways in our brains trigger the flight-fight response in a nanosecond, and that's true for everybody. But exactly what is traumatic or upsetting is going to vary from person to person. But again, I want to focus on the common denominators. So our threat response, and for many of you, this is probably a review, so bear with me. Our threat response is a powerful primitive part of our brain. The threat response system is made up of the amygdala's activation of powerful hormones that make up adrenaline. That gets us moving to take us to fight, flight, fawn, get along, freeze, meaning kind of play dead, or flop, where you actually go unconscious. And that is also known as the amygdala hijack, any one of those states. Now, the threat response, as you probably know, is designed to protect us from any real danger, and or it clicks in now for any perceived danger. So sometimes what I'm trying to say is that our amygdala wigs out and or is overly sensitive, especially in the modern workplace. So while this has kept us alive as primitive human beings, this defense system is now out of place and can cause havoc in our modern world. It sets us up to want to, go for the juggler sometimes, which is not at all conducive to business meetings, meeting deadlines, balancing family demands, and really, we're not at all equipped to take on true conversations about diversity at work. So in the modern world, of course, there's not typically a giant predator after us, but there are deadlines, mortgages, relationship issues, health scares, and so many more stressors that we react to daily, all day long. Now, we don't even know that we're reacting. And this is another key that a program that I've developed helps people become aware of. So in our recovering from the pandemic and demands about addressing things like diversity and equity and other global impacts that cause life and business to be unpredictable, we are vulnerable to have our amygdala working overtime every day. And we're struggling and people are burning out, and it's also causing health problems. So the second prong is that I train people, I train professionals on how to build a new neuronet pathway, essentially, of emotional regulation. The emotional pathway can interrupt the default pathway that goes right to the amygdala, which happens in a nanosecond. So my program and training empowers professionals to master their own neurochemistry and calm their amygdala in order to have crucial and or uncomfortable conversations about psychological safety or employee engagement at work, or even how to manage, a conflict at work, or getting that horrible email that sometimes people don't realize they're writing. But my training helps people land on their feet so that they don't have to overreact. My coaching program also teaches professionals to the tools of emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, and communication skill building, so that they learned then about their neurochemistry. They understand their triggers throughout the course of our work, how to prepare to take care of their own triggers, and then also how to understand how to communicate so they don't put someone else in a defensive and reactive mode. So my third prong is that the long-term goal is, my intention is to build a training center where professionals can be trained in my trauma-informed approach. The result of the program would be that professionals will be empowered to utilize the trauma resilience self-care toolkit and to manage their threat responses, and train other professionals about how these tools work and can prepare them for crucial conversations about diversity, privilege, intergenerational trauma of slavery. And sometimes these things come up for people while they are at work. People are talking more and more now about feeling that their traumas, their personal traumas or intergenerational traumas, are unfortunately kind of awoken at work. So the result of this program will also be that people will be able to then engage the skills to level a playing field of understanding anyway, because privilege is privilege, and it's also subjective depending on who's in the room, but it will kind of clear a pathway for people to have conversations where they can remain rational and they can remain more or less calm so that they can problem solve together. So I'm interested in your feedback. I'd also love to know if you have connections with leaders who might be interested in this work to lead their professional groups through a training. And I'm also looking for funding and angel investors. And I also know that, we're a global society, so sometimes there really truly is 6 degrees of separation. So if anybody here knows Oprah, let me know. I'm interested. So that, I did want to say that my consultancy is really only 2-3 years old, and I've taken this approach to Harvard University's Central HR, and they now have my program as a prerequisite for their diversity and equity and inclusion trainings. And it's also an hour-long standalone training in their professional resiliency series. I've also brought this approach and trained executive leaders at Warner Brothers Studios in an 8-week program. So thank you for your time.
All right, so questions for Lisa?
No questions?
Well, I actually have a question. So what kind of clients, like what's your ideal client? Like so I get you're out to cause something for executives and people at work, and who is it that you want to talk to? Like what's going to forward that conversation for you?
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you asking who specifically would be my target Market, or who
Yeah,
would I need to talk with to?
like your target market kind of thing. Like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I think I have several levels. I definitely have leadership training and coaching. And I also have, I think, work teams, professionals. I've also coached individual professionals who were going through really threatening and awful situations at work to help them, be able to be calm no matter what the situation was.
Okay.
So did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then Toba's got her hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
First of all, Lisa, fabulous. So well thought through and far reaching. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of my questions is, are you trained in neuroscience, or is there, I don't know if one gets a degree in neuroscience or certification. I know that there's several neuroscience programs.
Right.
So that's one of my questions.
Okay. Yes. Well, I'm trained in trauma treatment. And in that, I also sought out training about neuroscience and trauma specifically, and what actually helps the brain and helps people find relief. I had a whole nother little introduction, but I didn't use it. But in it, I explained all of that. I was able to learn really quick and things that make sense, that are tangible. It doesn't have to be 10 years of therapy. It's actually really MRI. They checked it out on an MRI, how well the brain responded to these therapeutic approaches. So that's what I bring.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lovely. And you're a trained psychotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I would ask, like, who's your audience, or who's your clients? Who are your peoples?
Right. Yeah. So this is important for me to pay attention to. So I want to go into organizations, so corporations. Right now, I'm doing work. It's volunteer right now, but it's the Afghan evacuation airlift. So we've got professional volunteers, and so I'm help supporting them with tools to manage vicarious trauma and things like that. But really, I see it for the workplace. So maybe you have a niche or a profession where you know more about the corporate landscape than I do, but if so, please feel free to fill me in.
I
Okay.
don't, but
Okay.
I'm you have me thinking right now.
Okay.
And like, couldn't this be something great for what is it? America First Aid America. I don't even remember the name. The volunteer group that goes in when there's traumas.
AmeriCorps, or they're first responders kind of thing. Is that what you're talking
First,
about?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
American
Huh?
AmeriCorps.
American Red Cross.
The American Red Cross, exactly. Like, it sounds to me like this could be such a great fit for something, for an organization like that, where they have your people there.
Yeah.
They have the people who you would be.
Right. Sure. But also at work, so for instance, at Harvard, it was Harvard, it was all professionals on every level could come to these trainings. And so we had people who were directors or managerial or people who were teaching, so on and so forth. And so this was for central HR. Each school has their own diversity and training programs as well. But coming to this one, people of color were really speaking out, and they were experiencing what sounded to my ear like trauma. They were sometimes reliving a part of it. And they're at work, and the whole dialogue was about how do we talk about microaggressions at work, or how do we talk about, ouch, I'm white and I'm not sure what to say or do. And so there's also definitely, I think, a place for this work in a corporate and business setting, not just university, but yeah.
No, I can hear that. That's like, yeah, that's opening up a whole can.
It's a can.
It's a can. It's a large container there.
It is. And what's so hard is that our Western way that we've grown up thinking and evaluating and criticizing and judging information, as you know from landmark work, is very it limits us, right, and or makes us ill on some level. But what I want to do is give people additional tools to be very conscious about their neurochemistry and what they're doing and saying in the moment, right, and including being mindful and gratefulness practice and things like that. So, but yeah, thank you for your comments, and I invite more after this session. Please contact me. Feel free.
Oh, fabulous! Thanks.
I do want to, Toba, thank you, and I do want to give, like, Tara's got her hand up, and then Anna Maria too.
Yes.
Tara, where'd you go?
He's muted. Oh, darn.
I was going to try to trigger Anna Maria to raising her hand or making the connection, and then she did it. So there, I did it by telepathy. Just a couple of things that I wanted to say. First of all, Elisa, I'm with Toba, like, so well. You know what I mean? It's like, there's like take it as a huge compliment that there was this no questions, because you did such a great job.
Okay, I was a little scared for a minute.
I know. That's why I wanted to say, like, don't take that as like, take that as like, wow, ha ha, you know, it's like you just laid it all out, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't have any questions to ask. So, and I wanted to comment on, I think that the world is now such that we aren't 6 degrees of separation. We're probably only 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think, so I think you probably could, and I'll give some thought. I worked at 20th Century Fox for years and years and years. So glad to hear that you're at Warner. You're with at Warner, so that's an industry that could use some work. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that to then point to Anna Maria as my guest that I invited to come tonight. She is working with veterans, and I was like, when you said Afghanistan, I said, oh my gosh, there's the connection to be had between two of you, because the military to have, you know, and then I will now, like, okay, Anna Maria, there you go, teed up for you.
Thank you, Tara.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Tara, for inviting me to this forum. And Elisa, at first when you said, well, is there any questions? I will reiterate what has already been said. It's almost like we had to take a moment and process the information that you just gave us. So thank you for giving us that moment. Now, process it. There's 2 things that are coming to mind. Well, actually 3. But one of the things that you said, and you said something about, I want to have a center. Where?
Oh, wow. I'm in Oregon, but I grew up in California. So for some reason, I see it in like the Los Angeles area or Oprah's backyard. I think that's where it should be.
Oh, okay.
Santa Barbara. That would be Santa Barbara.
It's actually Montecito. Yeah. Same, but same thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And then to my next point is it is true. I'm a veteran myself, but I am working with veterans. I'm mentoring quite a few of them. And we did celebrate the 100th person who happens to be a veteran that's no longer sleeping in a tent and now is in a apartment. That's for today. But what I'm saying is I would really like to learn a little bit more about your techniques and your therapy. And if you have a website, I would love to go to the website. I would also like to have a one-on-one discovery, 15, 20 minute with you, Because in addition to my nonprofit, I'm also a professor at UW Whitewater.
Wow, cool.
And we're in AACSB accredited,
Mhm.
business and economics. And we have been tasked with teaching managing diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging.
Yeah.
Just finished doing a lecture this afternoon on almost everything you were talking about, except for the neuroscience part.
Yeah.
Kids to understand we got to stop doing what we've been taught from kindergarten. And that's that stereotyping, the generalizations, making inferences and causal attributions and all that stuff.
Right. Well, that's the amygdala though in action.
Well,
It short circuits everything.
okay.
Yeah.
I did get a pledge from my kids, my students, that we would start turning the world in the right direction, beginning with my.
That's lovely. That's lovely to hear. Thank you. Yes, I would love to. Please, I put my information in the chat box. Please contact me, Anna Marie.
Okay.
And I want to pay attention to the time. So Molly, I know you've had your hand up. Can you do like a 30-second quick, and then because we want to give time for feedback to Lisa as well. And I know Lisa has to go because she's assisting at a seminar time.
Yeah. Okay, so you're done. First of all, I want to apologize. I just got back from a doctor's appointment, so I missed whatever greatness you just shared, Lisa. But based on what your conversation with Toba, I just want you to know I'm retired 10 years from Toyota Motor Sales and the corporate office, and I was a diversity inclusion champion for years. And we had a very active corporate culture with, consultants came in and we did training, and it was vast, and it's still going on today. So I'm very interested in what you're doing, and I'll look at the chat, but I'd also be willing to talk with you more about what we did in the corporate world.
Great. I'd love to hear that. Okay. Thank you, Molly. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I don't have a website that's working right now. I'm redoing it. So, but thank you. Okay. Yes. Very good.
So let's do quick, anybody. So at this point, like, what is it that you're left with from Lisa sharing? Just a quick bit of feedback. Anybody? Cara?
Hope.
Hope.
Oh, nice. Lovely.
All right. Anybody else?
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
And there is, so anybody that puts their information into the chat, like if there's, if you want to reach out to Lisa or Paul, either one, put your information in the chat and I can share that with them respectively, so that we can get that information to them, because sometimes it's hard to capture that, but I'll save the chat at the end. So I guess timing wise, this worked out perfect for you because you've got to go, right?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. Once again, I really, really appreciate it. It's really fortifying, and just love these communities. Okay.
Yeah.
Take care.
Great to meet you, Lisa.
Great to meet all of you as well. I look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Bye-bye.
Bye.